and welcome to this week's edition of Gaming News Weekly with your hosts, myself, I'm Rich, and my good friend Tabs. Say hello, Tabs.
Hello.
Lots to get through this week, some interesting stories and a few interesting tidbits in everything else, but we will start this week as we do absolutely every week. We're talking about what we've been playing this week. So Tabs, tell us what you've been playing.
Yeah, so I think Valheim's definitely been the star of the show. We've kind of changed tact a little bit because we have a group of three, we can't always be on. We've actually created like our own world. In fact, I think we've got one each now. And I know we've spent quite a bit of time, at least last weekend, in yours, Rich, and we've been doing a lot of the building. I think, did your missus basically... Oh, clearing your throat there, mate. Your missus, yeah, that's fine. Your missus actually, absolutely smashed it. I think she said, it's Animal Crossing for boys, Valheim.
Indeed.
So yeah, we've just enjoyed building a base together, I think, haven't we? Just designing it, and your engineering's coming out, and I think my kind of creativity's feeding off that, and you're just problem solving and creating something that's you can be quite prideful in almost. So that's almost a separate element of the game within itself. You've actually, of course, got this quest and sort of storyline that you're looking to complete. So fantastic game. What else have I been playing besides? A bit of Call of Duty again this week with my friend in Cumbria. Anything else? No, I think that's about it. So let's move on to you, because I know literally at this point you're so addicted to Valheim that relationships are on the line. You may be getting sacked from your workplace any day soon because all you can think about is Valheim.
I mean, that's the one who will go, oh yeah, I'm just going to have a lunchtime session on Valheim, and then it's like, how long's your lunch break? It's like 4 hours you've been on it.
No, total lies.
But yeah, I'm loving Valheim. I love... It's such a clever game, and I think the newfound love of the building, which we didn't really have before, that me and Tabs has really developed as a camaraderie on the building and the creativity of it is just fantastic. It really, I said to you, didn't I, Tabs? I view it as the hardest Command and Conquer game I've ever played, and I realise it's nothing like a Command and Conquer game, but it's like that. Resource gathering and upgrading and, base building. It's like that scenario, but in a more survivalist style, and obviously completely different controls and the way the game plays and stuff. But yeah, so I'm absolutely loving it. Can't get enough of it. And that is all I've played this week, actually. I didn't get a chance to play anything else, so...
No, I don't think there's any time left to play anything else, is there?
My one grumble with it is that everything takes forever. You want to do some building, 2 hours go by. You want to farm some resources, an hour goes by. We said, we were planning to take a specific boss on, and we were like, all right, well, let's just get to the boss, which meant we would sail to the boss. Well, that was 50 minutes to get to the boss. And it just zaps time like you wouldn't believe. But, in a good way, it's a good game, and I'm enjoying playing it.
Yeah, you've got to hand it to these 5 developers who made the game. It's a miraculous achievement, really. And whilst, it has its negatives, its cons, if you like, they've captured some real magic in a bottle as well. So applause goes to them. But Rich, take us away on the news, my friend.
Absolutely. So, let's get into the news. The first story, Ready Player One edition. Sorry, the Ready Player One edition.
I was actually that was inserted, Rich. I was calling this kind of episode of the news the Ready Player One edition, and you'll see why. 2 of the stories are very... Yeah, we'll come to that. So skip that. But yeah, the first headline was Xbox shed more light on Bethesda games.
Interesting. And this story comes from Eurogamer. Microsoft has confirmed that some new titles from Bethesda and parent company ZeniMax Studios will be exclusive to Xbox and PC. Good news for me and you, Tabs, means if we don't decide to get an Xbox, we will still be able to play some of these exclusives, so that's good news. There's no qualifier of timed exclusivity here. There's no mention of which games. This is the next step in building an industry-leading first-party studio team, a commitment we have to our Xbox community. Xbox boss Phil Spencer wrote today in an Xbox Wire post to mark the historic $7.5 billion deal being finalised. With the addition of Bethesda creative teams, gamers should know that Xbox console, PC and Games Pass will be the best place to experience new Bethesda games, including some new titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players. Interesting. Now,
I've bolted on here, Rich, another bit of news that I thought would be worth putting out there for everybody to know. So basically, there's a broadcast incoming. This was taken from an IGN article. So an Xbox broadcast to celebrate Bethesda joining the company will be aired today, and it will likely also feature announcements of new Bethesda games joining Xbox Games Pass. Now, when this goes live on our channel, it would have been yesterday, Thursday, I think 6 p.m. in the UK. So yeah, the broadcast is titled Bethesda Joins Xbox Roundtable. The video description reads a conversation with key leaders celebrating Bethesda joining Team Xbox. The broadcast follows Microsoft's official acquisition, as we've said, of ZeniMax, which turned 8 Bethesda developers into first-party Microsoft studios. And in that initial announcement, of course, Phil Spencer promised further Bethesda games would be added to Xbox Games Pass later this week to celebrate. So we're expecting to see that in the broadcast. So yeah, I suppose just to return to your bit, Rich, you know, what do we make of all this then? We've got a little bit more of an idea as to this exclusivity, but we don't have the full details. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I look at this a bit like, Microsoft have obviously got lots of studios already, but I feel like this is Microsoft almost trying to line themselves up in a way that they can have studios that produce hard-hitting games, the level that we see from PlayStation Studios, which, you know, is their new thing, their hub for all of their games, and obviously we know that includes some real hard hitters. So I feel like this is like the combination of trying to get that, and it's something that I think Xbox is missing in terms of those big exclusive games. So I think this is going to be a win-win for Xbox people. Unfortunately, the flip side to that is, being PlayStation predominantly at the moment, gamers, we are going to miss out on some games. I know you're a big fan of some of the Bethesda games tabs, so you know. But as I mentioned in the intro, we are obviously PC gamers as well, so we won't miss out. But yeah, it's sort of a shame, and you know, a good thing. I don't know. What about you, Tabs? What do you make of this?
Yeah, well, I mean, to set the scene, I think I was mostly concerned that we were going to see these treasured franchises displaced overnight practically because of the acquisition. So people who have been following these popular series that Bethesda make for generations of consoles, and they're suddenly strong-armed into committing to the Xbox platform just to play their games. This gives me some hope, though, because it says, doesn't it, that in what he said, including some new titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players. So that almost suggests new titles, new IPs, perhaps suggesting that the old IPs are going to remain cross-platform. And I think that's matched up with something Todd Howard said about Starfield. He couldn't foresee a future where it's not only on Xbox. I think he said something like that. So that gives me hope that, you know, this kind of doomsday scenario for me isn't going to come to being. As you say, if you've got all the money in the world and you're in a good position, it doesn't really matter because you can buy all the platforms. And we're lucky enough to have the PC to hand as well. But I think it's more for gamers out there, and certainly where we started, Rich, when we were kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't command an array of consoles and platforms, can you? You don't have the money. It's often a struggle just to afford one and absolutely. A few games. So that was my concern. But this sounds positive, and I'm excited to see, you know, what they reveal in 5 minutes' time in our world. But will have taken place already, BArcadians, as you watch this. I'm excited to see. I really want to see some more of. Is it Starfield? Am I saying that right?
I think it is, mate. I'm sure fairly certain it is.
Excited to see what they've got planned, and as you say, it's a good thing for Xbox. We know they've struggled with their first party content, and this is just going to absolutely strengthen, bolster that to make them hopefully a force to be reckoned with again. And as we always go on about, Rich, competition in the industry is good for innovation. Absolutely. And to give us more stuff to be excited about.
Absolutely. Do you want to take us on to the next story, brother?
I will indeed. So next headline, I think this would be exciting for both of us, and I'm bragging a lot as well in this. This takes us on to this week's topic, as I said, is the Ready Player One edition. So, ex-Rockstar staff working on something new and exciting. And I've put in brackets that Tabs basically predicted. So,
just calm down. Calm down.
Start calling me Nostradamus, mate, I think from now on. So this comes courtesy of IGN. We recently reported on fan discoveries about Everywhere, the upcoming game from ex-Rockstar president Leslie Benzies, I'm going to go with, and his new studio, Build a Rocket Boy. The studio has now told IGN that some of the theories fans had been putting together are not far off what Build a Rocket Boy is envisioning for the final project. The spokesperson didn't go into more detail about which elements were close, but our reports, IGN's, included a number of details drawn from patents and hidden areas of the Everywhere website. The Everywhere fan community has been drawing lines between those ideas, putting together an image of a somewhat realistic online world within which a second virtual world exists, where players can potentially create their own mini-games. I think the first world will be something similar to GTA Online, and the second world will look like Ready Player One, said Everywhere Discord admin Nesta, where you can create worlds and games for the enjoyment of other players and access them through doors or portals. So yeah, what I'm referring to about bragging rights and Nostradamus or whatever is we did a debate, didn't we, Rich, about open world games and linear games. And at the end of that, I kind of suggested maybe in the future we'll see something that merges these two things together. And this seems to suggest there's going to be this sort of persistent online hub world with like a virtual world within it where users can actually create experiences for each other. And that was sort of what I was alluding to in that previous debate video, but enough kind of bragging about.
Tentative link.
Yeah. Probably a bit tenuous, but you've got to claim these things, you know. I've got to revel in my own insight.
Fantastic.
But yeah, no, enough rattling on. What do you make of this, mate? I think it sounds exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds incredible, doesn't it? I mean, it sounds like, you know, a hustling, bustling online world, but then you can, you know, nip off to areas that maybe your friends have created, or it sounds really cool. Sounds like a really cool idea as well. Not if it can be implemented well, it could be very, very good. And also, it's something new. We haven't seen anything like that, so it would be interesting to see that. And we know the how good these people are, so we can only hope that they will do a brilliant job of it. Even if maybe, obviously, it's a brand new idea, a brand new IP. So, you know, does that mean it might have some teething problems to start off with? Maybe, but yeah, I'm excited for this. Really cool.
I think it's one of those things. It's an idea that I think has been around for a while in some ways, and it's been manifested in forms. I mean, even if you take it back, mate, what was it called? The PlayStation? Was it like the Net Euros or something like that? You remember there was like it's almost like a development kit for making games.
Oh, right.
Yeah, back in the day. And then, of course, we've seen things in recent times like Dreams.
Yes, of course.
You know, which gives players, and before that, Little Big Planet, gives players, you know, this kind of kit, this kind of engine to create experiences. And it sounds even, I remember another one, Rich. Do you remember PlayStation Home?
Yes, mate. I thought that's what you were talking about when you first started to say about the previous thing I was going to say, but yeah.
Yeah, we mucked about with that, I think. And it sounds like this idea has been, you know, salivating many developers for many years now, and perhaps we're starting to get to a point where the technology can actually realize it in its best possible format. And in fact, we've got another article which touches upon this next up, hence the Ready Player One edition of this week's news. But yeah, I do think it's really interesting because, you know, to see these online hubs and online worlds, and to almost like is that the right word? Crowdfund it or outsource it to users to implement their own games. Obviously, you tend to get a mixed kind of output, but I think it's also great for creatives out there who don't know how to get into the games industry. And it's, you know, the world's chock-a-block. It's very competitive, and this gives passionate gamers out there perhaps a chance to flex their creative muscles, to get some recognition, to get some acclaim, and really start to perhaps forge a career in gaming that had this not been around, they couldn't do. And that probably segues nicely, mate, into the next topic, if you want to talk us through that one.
Absolutely. So the headline reads, Roblox, the next evolution in gaming. Interesting. BBC News had this to say. Excellent. David Baszewski
I think you've done that justice, mate. I would have said that.
is about to become a very rich man as his video game platform Roblox floats on the New York Stock Exchange, valued at a cool $30 billion. Wow. Already he has bigger ambitions for the game, which he hopes can become the centre of the so-called metaverse, an online world not just for gaming but for the work and learning too. But what is the appeal of the title, whose audience mainly consists of under 12s? And can its future lie beyond games? Gaming marketplace, Roblox, can it...
Sorry, mate, that's me copy and pasting. Carry on.
Roblox is already the world's largest user-generated game site. Players use core building components to create and share online worlds that anyone can explore. It is free to play, relying on purchases paid for a currency known as Robux. Game makers earn Robux, which can be converted back into cash. More than 1,250 developers earned at least 10,000 in Robux in 2020. More than 300 earned $100,000 or more. The versatility of Roblox is a huge part of its success, thinks Louise Shorthouse, a senior games analyst at Ampere Research. It's not just a game, it's a platform to create games, she explains. It is a bit of a marketplace where you can pick and choose whether you play an adventure game or a shooter or a puzzle, and a lot of it is free to play, which is good for children. It is available on a variety of devices from PC and Xbox to apps on iPhone and Android devices, allowing users to play each other regardless of which machine they are using. Inclusivity, love it. There's pent-up demand for PlayStation and Nintendo Switch releases too, so potentially it has lots of further room to grow. So very interesting. It sounds like this is sort of a game that's on the up, especially with its floating, and I think as time goes by, more and more people are going to get more interested in this game, I think. So what do you make of this, Tabs?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very much like a dream sort of concept, but they're almost monetizing it, and the money can actually flow to the users as well, not just to, the developers of the game. I didn't know much about it, mate. I have to admit, until I read this article, and it just happened to chime in with this other story, previous story we've mentioned. But I think it's amazing. We've obviously got two concepts there, which seemingly are going to be occupying the same space. And maybe this is like the next big thing. We're going to see a lot of developers making this kind of game or platform competing for market share. And again, I think it can only mean good things.
I think it's similar to YouTube, except the content creators are creating like games or like little worlds for you to explore, and then they're uploading that, and then if they lots of people play them, or as in YouTube, lots of people view the things, and you get some money that you can then like earn from that. So yeah, I think it's like a bit of a next generation in terms of what we're going to see for sort of content creation for games. So I think that's really interesting that's at one point YouTube wasn't a thing, and now look at it, it's just absolutely enormous. And we know how big the games industry is and how big it is continuing to become. So I think this could be massive in the years to come, or games like this could be absolutely huge.
And yeah, exactly. And it's all about accessibility, because that's one thing, isn't it? I wouldn't necessarily say the games industry is hugely accessible.
No.
In terms of forging a career in it. You've got to learn coding, you've got to do lots of study, then you've got to, get on the scene, make a name for yourself. This literally, at the grassroots, people just with a passion for games and these tools at their hands can learn from square one in their own time, within their own freedom, and potentially forge a career. So it's just, and I'm all for creativity. I think, especially in this rough time we've all been in, with life, being stuck at home in many circumstances with not a lot of creative outputs, or at least compared with normal life. Well, again, this is just another way to to share our passion and enthusiasm with each other. And I hope the commerciality aspect of these things doesn't take over. As with all things, that can corrupt and ruin the foundations that at least initially seem so altruistic. But let's focus on the positive side of it, glass half full, and it just sounds hugely exciting and encouraging. I don't know, Rich, maybe me and you should try and create a game of our own, funnel some of this Valheim time into our own creative experience that we can make some money on.
Yeah, maybe one.
But anyway,
in a couple of years' time when we finish Valheim, then maybe that's a good idea, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to everything else, and I'll get us started. So, Batman Arkham Knight could be getting an Xbox Series X upgrade, so that's really interesting if you're interested in that game.
Next up, we've got Naughty Dog. Job listing suggests a live service multiplayer game is coming. I didn't know that, mate. That's news to me.
Isn't it?
What do you make of that?
Yeah,
live service.
I know. I'm honestly not sure what to make of that, because it would be completely off their what they're known for, we know that they're good at. How would that?
Did they hint at a Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer? Because they had one for the first game, didn't they?
So I think they hinted that it would be coming. I don't think it's here yet, although don't quote me on that. I don't know. I've not been back to it since I completed it, so I don't know. But yeah, it's really interesting. I'd like to understand what that means. But I think given the fact they're only asking for people to apply for a job, that's a little way off yet. So we'll have to wait with bated breath on that.
It's got to be better than the Avengers, though, isn't it? Whatever. So.
Absolutely. Valheim World Generator makes it easy to find your perfect Viking paradise, and this is basically some very clever person has created this tool in your browser on your computer where you can literally drop in your seed, and it will literally show you the entirety of the map. So it's a really helpful tool, really cool piece of technology that someone's done there. So yeah, really cool.
And I got BArcadians a screenshot of our world just before we started filming. Again, Rich's preoccupation with Valheim, speaking volumes. And then finally, we've got God of War and Ghost of Tsushima are in line for PC ports, according to a leaker. Wow, that is interesting,
yeah,
Rich.
Absolutely.
Would you rebuy for 120 frames per second, 4K
maybe
gorgeousness?
The trouble is, both of those games I've literally done to death. I've platinumed God of War and Ghost of Tsushima. We've put hundreds of hours in. I don't know whether I've got any more time to give to them. That's my big problem.
Yeah, PC though, laptops seem to be becoming the platform of choice though, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
A mixture of Xbox and PlayStation exclusives. That's the kind of Venn diagram of the consoles in some ways. But
absolutely,
Rich.
So that is it for this week's Gaming News Weekly. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do drop us a like. And as always, if you've got anything you'd like to chat about, what we've spoke about, get down in the comments below and give us a comment, and we'll get back to you and we can discuss some of this week's news. If you are new here and you would like to join us, please subscribe. It really does help grow the channel. And I think that's all we've got time for this week. Another one for the archive.
Stamped and completed.